Now, a U.S. court has ruled that Iran must pay more than $10 billion in damages to families of people killed in the September 2001 terrorist attacks. Now, a judge in New York issued the default judgment on Wednesday. George Daniels said that Iran failed to defend itself against claims that it played a role in the attacks. Now, the ruling is based on the 9/11 Commission report, which stated that some attackers moved through Iran and didn't have their passports stamped. It also said that Lebanon's Hezbollah provided advice and training to al-Qaeda members who carried out the attacks. Daniels had earlier cleared Saudi Arabia from culpability. Allegations come as 15 of the 19 attackers were Saudi citizens and none were Iranian. September 11 raids were a series of 4 coordinated terrorist attacks by al-Qaeda. And for more on the story, we're joined out of San Francisco by Mr. Scott Bennett, former U.S. Army psychological warfare officer. Mr. Bennett, many may say that these accusations come way out of left field, as Iran's never been implicated in the 9/11 attacks until this court proceeding. I mean, why attach this kind of stigma to a country with such a questionable line of argument?
Well, they've probably made one of the most foolish decisions ever, because they have opened the door to something that can blow apart in their face with all sorts of upheaval and revolution in this country. 9/11 has been something that a lot of the people in this country have been slowly digging and finding out more information about. So for them to issue a ruling against Iran, for Iran never had no Iranians were part of the hijacking group, supposedly, if you buy into the hijacking story altogether. But there's a lot of people who don't, and experts in 9/11, such as Jim Fetzer, who did a phenomenal program, The Real Deal, episode 103, and he went through line by line the entire issues relating to the 9/11 demolition. Now, what Iran can do, of course, is to appeal this and go into a courtroom and say, let's bring out all the evidence. If you want to talk about 9/11, let's talk about the physical impossibility of Building 7 being brought down by a fire. Let's bring in Jim Fetzer and Susan Lindauer and Scott Bennett